Once the red recording light appears, we will begin. I am Peter DeCesar, the Counterintelligence Curriculum Manager at CDSE. I have Rachel Mojo here as my Production Manager today. Before we get started, Rachel, would you take a few seconds to explain how the DCO works?
Of course. Thank you, Pete. Before we get started, we'll take a tour of our meeting room. You're going to find in the bottom left-hand corner, as marked with a green arrow here, a notes box. This lists the call-in number and other announcements. If you are disconnected from the audio, this number will remain on screen for your reference. Be aware that the audio for this meeting is available both by telephone and through your computer speakers. Also on screen, you'll see notes regarding use of full screen. If you look at the gray banner on the top of your screen, you'll find the full screen option there. You can select this button to have a larger view of the presentation. However, when questions appear, select full screen again to return to normal view and to respond. You'll also see a Q&A box in which you can enter questions to the presenters. You'll see it with a blue arrow, and it's on the right side of your screen. And there's also a file share box, as indicated with the yellow arrow. Files associated with today's presentation are listed in this box. You can download them. In this case, we have the slides for today's presentation. You can print them out and take notes as we go. You'll also find we'll be asking some chat questions during this webinar. The presenter will ask a question and request you type in a response. The response boxes appear on top of those existing Q&A boxes on your screen. As responses come in, we'll provide feedback. Don't forget to click full screen again if you have been viewing in that mode, or you will not be able to respond. Okay, Pete, this completes our tour. Back to you.
Thank you, Rachel. In January, we discussed the insider threat. Today we'll talk about some of those suspicious activities, or as we refer to them as potential espionage indicators, which employees should recognize and report to their security office. Our guest speaker, Deputy Chief of Counterintelligence Field Operations at the Capitol, experience with DSS from conducting background investigations, industrial security specialist, and counterintelligence special agent.
Welcome to the Potential Espionage Indicator, or PEI, Detecting Actions Outside the Norm webinar. Could we have the next slide, please? Good morning. Over the next 20 minutes, we'll be covering potential espionage indicators, specifically what they are and how to recognize and subsequently report incidents. Understanding and reporting PEI is a critical component of an effective insider threat program. The 2012 National Insider Threat Policy and Minimum Standards for Executive Branch Insider Threat Programs has mandated and provided guidance for federal agencies that handle classified information to deter, detect, and mitigate actions by employees who may represent a threat to national security. Next slide, please. Before we get started, let's do a quick knowledge check. Enter your answer in the Q&A chat box. What are potential espionage indicators? Wow, it looks like we have a wide range of answers. Here's the formal definition. Next slide, please. The Defense Security Service Counterintelligence Office defines PEI as activities, behavior, or circumstances that may, unless satisfactorily explained, be indicative of potential espionage activity by an individual who may be acting as a witting espionage agent or spy. In other words, PEI are observable actions outside the norm witnessed through day-to-day interaction. To put it in a larger context, one might say PEI are the observable manifestations of someone who may be an insider threat. Keep in mind, not every individual who exhibits one or more PEI is involved in illicit behavior. However, cases in which individuals exhibit these indicators warrant further review and analysis. Next slide, please. Let's look at the categories of activities which may be viewed as indicators of potential espionage. Historically, espionage and terrorism subjects have exhibited one or more of these. Suspicious foreign travel, unreported foreign contacts or attempts to conceal them, foreign preference or allegiance, security violations, financial concerns, a negative polygraph, odd employment behavior, or exploitable foreign personal conduct. Next slide, please. There are a variety of behaviors regarding foreign contacts which could indicate possible espionage. Attempts to conceal foreign contacts on security clearance paperwork in discussions with an investigator or when speaking to coworkers are of concern. Close relatives who are associated with a foreign government could render a cleared person vulnerable to a foreign government's leverage for cooperation. Prior service in a foreign government may indicate loyalty to a foreign country. Significant foreign business connections may indicate foreign property investments or bank accounts, which could in turn indicate foreign preference. Contact with foreign intelligence entities could indicate an employee is passing on unlawful information or becoming the victim of a recruitment attempt. Next slide, please. Some indicators of foreign preference or allegiance include maintaining dual citizenship, the use of a foreign passport or national identification card for travel in lieu of a U.S. passport, holding one's assets in a foreign bank account, or expressing a bias for a foreign nation. Having money in a foreign bank account could be a stepping stone to emigration or a way to hide money from U.S. authorities. Affinity, bias, or favor is more than just enjoying Chinese food or learning a foreign language. The employee may complain about U.S. foreign policy or join social groups sponsored by or favoring a foreign country. This indicator is a sign the employee may put the interests of the foreign country over those of the United States. An example of foreign preference or allegiance can be found in Ana Montez, who was arrested in 2001 and sentenced to 25 years in prison for spying for Cuba. She claimed she was motivated by altruism, saying U.S. policies were harming the people of Cuba. Her ideological feelings far outweighed any desire for money in her voluntary espionage, which began in 1985. Next slide, please. Another possible indicator is suspicious foreign travel. This could be frequent or unexplained short trips, attempts to conceal foreign travel, or inconsistencies between reported foreign travel and passport entries. Historically, people involved in espionage have traveled outside the United States to meet with their handlers, pass information, receive payment, or receive future tasking. Security violations may also be a clue that an employee is involved in espionage. These types of security violations include a pattern of behavior inconsistent with security policies, mishandling classified information, misusing automated information systems, removing classified information from the workspace, and attempting to enter areas outside of the need-to-know or clearance level, either in person or via information systems. Next slide, please. There are several financial indicators associated with espionage, such as unexplained affluence, suspicious financial activity, unreasonable financial capabilities, and a personal financial statement that does not match the employee's financial situation. Unreasonable financial capabilities are such things as the ability to obtain large loans where there may not be any visible assets to use as collateral. One might overhear a phone conversation, observe jewelry or clothing that does not match the known financial situation of a coworker, or become aware of financial irregularities. For example, Aldrich James, who was convicted of spying for the Soviet Union and Russia in 1994, displayed newfound wealth resulting from his espionage. He drove a new Jaguar. He started wearing high-quality tailored suits where he had previously worn inexpensive clothing, had his teeth capped, and paid cash for a $540,000 house. He explained his new wealth by saying it was the result of an inheritance from his wife's family. However, such lies may not hold up to closer scrutiny. Another indicator is a negative polygraph result. A counterintelligence polygraph result may have been inconclusive, indicated deception, or provided information inconsistent with the personnel security questionnaire and interview. Next slide, please. Some behaviors at the office could be indicative of espionage: working long hours or coming in at odd times, being frequently alone in the office, extensive use of copier or fax to reproduce or transmit classified or sensitive information, or interest in matters outside the scope of official duties. These may indicate an employee is fulfilling a collection tasking from foreign intelligence. If an employee seems excessively disgruntled to the point of wanting to get revenge on the U.S. government, it could indicate the person may turn to espionage to harm the government. Next slide, please. Now for the last two, PEI. Exploitable personal conduct includes such things as sexual deviance, adultery, drug or alcohol abuse, or excessive gambling. One or more of these behaviors is usually a sign of deeper problems. There may be a combination of several disruptive life situations which could lead someone to commit espionage in hopes of solving his problems with money or feelings of self-importance. Some exploitable behaviors, such as sexual deviancy, could be photographed by representatives of a foreign intelligence service and then used to blackmail the cleared person into providing sensitive or classified information. Aldrich James exhibited some of these behaviors. In about 1982, while stationed in Mexico, he had several affairs, including one with an attaché at the Colombian embassy. Some of his colleagues knew about it. He drank heavily. On one occasion, this led to a loud, drunken argument with a foreign diplomat, which alarmed his superiors. Reporting such indicators may stop a coworker before he or she turns to espionage and may help get them the assistance they need. In late 1983, when Ames was getting a divorce, he thought it might bankrupt him, and he later said this financial pressure first led him to consider spying for the Soviet Union. Standalone PEI covers any activity which in itself may be evidence of espionage, such as unofficial contact with foreign intelligence entities or their personnel, or membership in subversive groups or organizations. Next slide, please. I'd like to mention two cases where cleared individuals exhibited PEI. In August 2001, Brian Regan, a former Air Force intelligence analyst and National Reconnaissance Office, or NRO contractor, was arrested just before flying to Switzerland. Information found on him at the time of his arrest contained coded coordinates of Iraqi and Chinese missile sites and addresses for the Chinese and Iraqi embassies in Switzerland and Austria. In 2003, Regan was sentenced to life imprisonment. He is thought to have been motivated not only by money, for he had very heavy personal debts, but also by a sense of disgruntlement. He complained frequently to former coworkers and neighbors about his job. After his arrest, authorities were able to reconstruct the timeline of his espionage activities. Regan began working for the NRO in 1995. He administered the classified Intel Link website, the U.S. intelligence community's classified version of the Internet. From 1999 until his retirement, Regan used Intel Link to access classified information on Iran, Iraq, Libya, and China that was unrelated to his official duties. In CIRSA 2000, Regan wrote letters to the intelligence chiefs and country leaders of Iraq and Libya, claiming to be an analyst for the CIA. The letters included some excerpts from classified reports, and Regan offered to reveal other top-secret SCI information. In August 2000, Regan retired from the U.S. Air Force and became a defense contractor. He resumed work at the NRO in July 2001. He continued to peruse IntelLink for intelligence information outside the scope of his official duties. Regan was under surveillance for months after a foreign source passed on a letter from an unidentified U.S. intelligence official offering to sell information. The letter was riddled with misspellings, and this led the FBI to look for a bad speller in the intelligence community. Regan, who was dyslexic, became the prime suspect. He would later become known as the spy who couldn't spell. A forensic examination of computers found in Regan's home disclosed letters offering to sell secrets to Libya, Iraq, and China. In a letter to Iraqi intelligence and Saddam Hussein, Regan asked for $13 million. Regan removed at least 20,000 pages of classified information, CDs, and videotapes from NRO and hid them in various locations, including state parks in the area, presumably for future sales. Next slide, please. Let's do a quick knowledge check on the PEI in the Regan case. Please enter your answer in the Q&A chat box. What are some of the PEI in the Regan case? Again, it looks like we have a really wide range of answers. So let's look at the identified PEI. Next slide, please. Regan exhibited several indicators of espionage. He was deeply in debt, which was the principal factor behind his decision to turn to espionage. Regan first considered espionage in late 1998 to resolve more than $100,000 in debt. He worked odd hours. He was married to a foreign national. He had unreported foreign travel. In August 2001, Regan told his supervisors and colleagues he was taking a trip to Disney World in Florida with his family. In fact, he was planning to fly to Switzerland to meet with Iraqi and Chinese embassy officials. He hoped to sell his stash to the highest bidder. He also made a short, unofficial trip to Germany in June 2001. Regan entered the office late at night. From 1999 onwards, he spent a lot of time downloading documents on IntelLink, and he exhibited exploitable personal conduct. In this case, it was alcohol abuse. Next slide, please. Here's another example of a case involving a cleared defense contractor. In October 2005, Noshir Gawadia, an Indian-born naturalized U.S. citizen, was arrested for marketing and disclosing classified B-2 stealth technology. Gawadia disclosed top-secret information relating to stealth technology to representatives of at least 8 countries, claiming to assist them in obtaining a higher level of military technology. Gawadia was accused of passing information to China, the Swiss government, and to businesses in Israel. In August 2010, he was convicted of unlawfully exporting technical information, illegally retaining defense information, and filing false tax returns. He received a 32-year prison sentence. From 1968 to 1986, Gawadia was a contractor and a designer of the B-2 stealth bomber. As one of the principal designers, he conceived and conceptually designed the B-2 bomber's propulsion system, enabling the B-2 to fly virtually undetected by heat-seeking missiles. He also developed stealth cruise missiles and referred to himself as the father of stealth technology. In 1999, Gawadia taught a course to foreigners in an unspecified country and disclosed classified information at the secret level during the course. In 1999, he also established his own research and development, engineering, and consulting firm, NS Gawadia Incorporated. In this capacity, he conducted classified work through contracts with the U.S. government. In 2002, Gawadia faxed a top-secret proposal to develop infrared suppression technology on military aircraft to a representative of an unspecified foreign country. In or about July 2003, he traveled to China and provided detailed information to Chinese representatives on low observable technology and advanced propulsion exhaust systems, which was classified at the secret level. He was paid $2 million for his expertise on the cruise missile and the B-2. In 2005, as a visiting professor at several universities, he used classified information during his lectures. Also in 2005, Gawadia took out a $2.9 million loan for unknown purposes. Next slide, please. Gawadia exhibited the following indicators of espionage. Unexplained affluence. In 2002, he built a luxurious 6,790 square foot home on Maui, designed in the shape of a B-2 bomber. Gawadia underreported his income and falsely denied having control over foreign bank accounts. In August 2003, Gawadia returned to Hawaii from China in possession of $15,000. He claimed he was going to use the money to purchase an antique desk overseas. Gawadia paid no income taxes from about 1997 to 2005, when he was arrested. From July 2003 to October 2005, Gawadia covertly traveled to China 6 times to assist China on their cruise missile program. And with the assistance of the co-conspirator, Gawadia concealed the frequency, duration, and destination of his trips to China. Next slide, please. For our third and final poll, please indicate your answer in the Q&A chat box. You are unsure, but you suspect a coworker has recent unexplained affluence and a new foreign girlfriend. What do you do? If you notice an indication of possible espionage, you may be the first, last, and only opportunity the U.S. government has to obtain this information. Report it to the FSO. Most of you put that. Now we'll look at what action the FSO should take. Next slide, please. The NISPOM requires contractors to report adverse information, including PEI. NISPOM Chapter 1, Section 3, Paragraph 302 concerns reports submitted to the Cognizant Security Agency, or DSS. Paragraph 302A deals with reports on adverse information. It says, contractors shall report adverse information coming to their attention concerning any of their cleared employees. Reports based on rumor or innuendo should not be made. The subsequent termination of employment of an employee does not obviate the requirement to submit this report. If the individual is employed on a federal installation, the contractor shall furnish a copy of the report and its final disposition to the commander or head of the installation. Next slide, please. DoD Directive 5240.06, Enclosure 4 states, DoD personnel shall report the contacts, activities, indicators, and behaviors stated in Section 5 of this enclosure as potential FIE threats against the DoD, its personnel, information, material, facilities, and activities, or against U.S. national security. Section 5 lists reportable foreign contacts, activities, indicators, and behaviors, including many of those we have already discussed as PEI. DoD personnel who fail to report information as required in Section 5 may be subject to judicial or administrative action or both pursuant to applicable law and regulations. This instruction also applies to DoD civilians and military personnel and contractors, as the requirements of the directive will be incorporated into DoD contracts as appropriate and made applicable to those contracts. Next slide, please. Thank you for your attention, and I'd be happy to take questions for the time we have remaining.
Thank you, Ann. That was outstanding. we do have a few minutes left, and I don't have enough time for all the questions. Those we don't get to right now, we'll post in the archive later on. Let's see. What will happen to a person if I report PEI on them and they turn out to be innocent?
Okay, so if an investigation clears the person, this will be noted in file or JPAS record at the completion of the investigation.
All right. I know someone who married a person from another country. Should I report them?
Being married to a person of foreign origin in the absence of other indicators does not indicate foreign preference or an unreported foreign contact, so it would not in itself be enough for a PEI report. If the individual has a clearance, they should have reported their spouse to their FSO or security point of contact, as well as listed that individual on their SF-86, and the initial investigation should have discovered anything of concern. Individuals such as Regan, who have committed espionage, had several other PEI of more concern. Some indicators in and of themselves should be reported, and one should consult the DoD D5240.06, a complete list of reportable indicators and behaviors.
Okay. All right, time for one or two more here. I'm concerned that if I work long hours to get my work done, someone will report me for exhibiting PEI. What should I do?
Tell your supervisor. Let your supervisor know that you will be working longer hours in order to complete your necessary tasks. Then it won't be out of the ordinary or be seen as working long hours for no reason or to be alone in the office.
All right, one more. I think one of my coworkers is an alcoholic, and sometimes he drinks at lunchtime, and I can smell the alcohol on his breath. Should I report him?
Absolutely. You should report this to the FSO. Aldrich James was an alcoholic, and coworkers saw him sleeping at his desk on a number of occasions after he returned from lunch in an intoxicated condition. If your coworker turns out to have no involvement in espionage, then alcohol abuse is still a suitability issue that might impact their ability to hold a security clearance. This might also be an incentive for the employee to get help for an alcohol problem, which would do them a service in the long run.
Okay, thank you very much, Ann. We're just about out of time. Before you shut down here, participants, I have one more activity. If you would please take a few moments to give us a little feedback. Hopefully you'll see that form popping up here. Today's webinar is very important to us, and we greatly appreciate your feedback. So if you would please take a moment to give us any recommendations, or if you have suggestions for future webinars that we should consider presenting. So please give me your answers there. And again, if you sent us a question, we didn't have time to answer it, we'll put those together, get some answers, and we'll post them in our archive over the next few weeks. And very good. Thank you very much. Outstanding briefing. You all have a great day.